Good morning, students. Today we will continue with History, Chapter 3, the Sultanate period. In the previous class, we have discussed about different ruling dynasties, that was Slave Dynasty, Khilji Dynasty, and Tughlaq Dynasty. So, after the Tughlaq Dynasty, many invaders came in India and invaded India. The most popular invader who came to India was Temur. So let's start with Temur's invasions. Temur's invasion that he came in India in 1398. He was a Mughal ruler and he has a large empire in the Central Asia. And he wanted to invade India and attack and loot Delhi. And because when he was invading India, his army destroyed, or you can say killed, many or thousands of armies in the war and the looting processes. And this looted, he collected whatever the things he has looted or invaded from India, he collected and he built his capital, that is Samarkand, that is in Uzbekistan. Okay, that is in Uzbekistan. There he took all the looted things and built a beautiful palaces, buildings and mosques. So the main purpose for looting or invading India was collecting the wealth and taking it and constructing or beautifying his own territory. Before leaving India, Timur appointed Khizr Khan as his deputy in India. So after moving Tughlaq dynasty, Sayyid ruler came into existence, that is Sayyid dynasty came into existence, and Khizr Khan was the first Sayyid ruler. And we have seen that in the Tughlaq dynasty there were different types of aspects, or you can say different changes, which brought in the Tughlaq dynasty, that is in the Sultanate period. So let's move and see what are the aspects of Tughlaq ruler or Tughlaq dynasty. It is seen that the sultans were very powerful, but they needed the support of nobles, and there was a constant struggle between the sultan and ulama during Muhammad bin Tughlaq period. So what we are well familiar, who are ulama, that is body of Maulahs. Okay, Maulvis or Maulahs, they are same. Okay, so Muhammad bin also tried a lot to control the power of ulmas because they were becoming more powerful. But in the later period, that means after the death of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, Firoz Shah Tughlaq came into existence, and he was very lenient and was under the influence of ulma. That means as we know that Firoz Shah Tughlaq wanted a peace ruling dynasty, or you can say peace smoothing of governing era, so he was very lenient towards the nobles as well as the ulmas. So he gave more grants to nobles as well as the ulmas. So because of the influence of ulma, he brought out many changes. Okay, he brought back the Sharia, that was a religious law based on Quran that every Muslim should follow. So because of the influence of ulma, Firoz Shah brought Sharia. Okay, that was a law which has to be followed by the Muslims, and they have to rule according to the Sharia. Even it is seen that the Tughlaq Sultans, that is Muhammad bin Tughlaq and Firoz Shah, tried to legitimize, that is legitimize the rule, that means to make their rules, but they were unable to do so. And because Muhammad bin Tughlaq was against the ulma, or you can say, or against the nobles, so ulma termed Muhammad bin Tughlaq as un-Islamic, okay, as un-Islamic, and Muhammad bin Tughlaq introduced or issued a coin in the name of Khalfa, which means that spiritual head of Islam. And both, that is Muhammad bin Tughlaq and Firoz Shah, got the authority to rule from the Khalfa, that is a spiritual head of Islam, or you can say political and religious leader of Islam. From them, he got the authority to rule over his kingdom. And in the Tughlaq dynasty, they have a court. Every king and queen, or you can say any kingdom, will have a court. In the same way, in the Tughlaq dynasty, there were courts, and that was very ceremonial, that means it was very beautiful, or you can say in a different manner. And we have also seen that they have introduced two types of ceremonies, that is sajda and pabos, which we have dealt in the previous class. What is the meaning of sajda and pabos? That is sajda, that means to bend down in front of the king, and pabos to kiss the feet of the king. So that was the policy which was made by the rulers, and many of the people did not like it at all. That is, it was they did not like the policy, because they thought that it was reserved for the god. And in his court, sultan was sitting, or you can say he sat on the throne, which was little bit raised in a platform, and the other officials were also given a post to sit, or you can say have a fixed position in the court. And also it has seen that officials, whatever the accounts were recorded in the sultan period, that was written in the scribbles recorded in the orders of sultan, that means scribbles were recorded in the orders of sultan. And moving to the other things, that were the nobles. In the court there were nobles, and we know that in Firoz Shah period the nobles became more powerful, and they were, and we should know who were nobles. The nobles were very powerful group, and they were Turkish and Afghanis, okay, they were Turkish and Afghans. And the ruler always in the Muhammad bin Tughlaq or Firoz Shah period, but it was seen that in a Muhammad bin Tughlaq, the high posts were given to the slaves, and they were given as a post of governors and military commanders. And do you know why only the slaves were given that high post? Because it was said that Muhammad bin Tughlaq does not have any child, so he gave high post to the slaves. Okay, so that was the reason why the Tughlaq or the sultans were giving the high post to the slaves, and they were posted in a very good post. There were governors, there were military commanders. And how we come to know about that? We come to know about the two travelers, that is informer, that is Ibn Battuta and Bahraini, who mentioned about that in the Muhammad bin Tughlaq period, many nobles were there who were very kind hearted, and they were from the slave. They took it, they raised the slaves position to a good position, that is in a noble position. And many of the nobles became the rulers, many of the nobles who became the king after the death of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. And in the noble also, many of them were very kind, and there were musicians, there were barbers, there were cooks, and some of them were gardeners. So the slaves were be put in a high position. And it is seen that there were in the department, or you can say the pillars of empire. That means to establish something, they were having 4 departments to rule or to took a good check over the empire. The 4 pillars of the empire, you can say that Diwane-e Wazirat, that means it talked about a concern with the financial, that is money matter. Diwane-e Rasalat, that is concerned with the religious matter. Diwan-e-Arz, that is concerned with military affairs. Diwan-e-Insha, that is concerned with royal correspondence. So these are the 4 departments, or you can say the pillars of empire, on which the sultans looked over each and every aspect. That means every department will have a different category. We have different ministers, in the same way they were also having the same, or you can say that we had adapted that formula from the ancient or the modern sultans, that is Diwane Wazirat. We concerned with them finance, we have finance ministers. Then we have Diwane Rashid concerned with religious matter. We have different priest, or you can say different prohits, or whatever it is concerned about religious matter. Military, we have ministry, we have army, military, finance, or whatever it is concerned with that. So these were the 4 departments or strong pillars of the empire who were looked after the sultans. They were under that. And we also see that the sultan selected the nobles to the head of the different departments of the state. In the Sultanate period, we have different departments. That means the sultan selected nobles as the head of different departments of the state. The first one was the wazir, was the prime minister. Now we see that our prime minister is the head of our nation. So in the Sultanate period, or in the Tughlaq dynasty, the wazir was a prime minister who looked after the work of officials and kept the record of revenue and expenditure, that is money matter, and appointed people to important posts. That means wazir in the period of Sultanate period, wazir was considered to be as the prime minister, okay, who looked after the official, that means whoever will be appointed officials, and kept a record of revenue and expenditure and appointed people to important posts. He also have Qazi. The second important person or noble was Qazi, who was a chief judge and sultan's advisor on religious issues. That means Qazi, we know that we have heard this word familiar in Muslims priest, that Qazi is there. So Qazi was a chief judge and a advisor of sultan on religious issues. Moving to another noble, that was Bakshi. From the word Bakshi, you can understand it is talking about money matter. So Bakshi was a paymaster of the army, or you can say the cashier of the army. He only gave the money to the army. So Bakshi was a paymaster of the army. And the noble who took over all the charges of an army was called Ariz-ul Mamlik. That means the noble who took overall the in charge of all the taking care of the nobles, the payment, the in charges, that was called as Ariz-e Mamlik. So this was all about his nobles and who were appointed, what they were called. So moving to other factors, that was the land system, that was the Iqta system, that was the land control. It is seen that the nobles were given grants of the land. In the previous class we have studied that land was called what? That land was called as Iqta. And the nobles who received it were called Iqtadars. Okay, so the person who received, a farmer or any official, if he gets that land or the person will call as the Iqtadars. So it is seen that the iqtadars or the land were given to those family. The farmers are collecting, or you can say collected by the iqtadars. That means they collected taxes from the farmers who are living in the iqta, that means in that land. Okay, and with this money they maintain themselves. That means the iqtadars who have given his land to a farmer, he will collect the money and he will give it to the his family. Even the he will pay to the soldiers, and sometimes it happens that they supply troops to the sultan whenever they need it. So from the farmers the iqtadars are taking collecting money and they are fulfilling their family, their needs. But in the slave and khilji dynasty, the iqtas were given only to the high military commanders. That means the people who were appointed in a high post, they were giving that region, or you can say that land area. And it is seen that the iqtadars were very few in numbers in the slave and khilji dynasty. That means the iqtadars people were very less. But in the Tughlaq dynasty, what happens, it was very much. That means he was very lenient, he was giving more land to the nobles, and he also tried to check that the iqtadars, that means the nobles, are not collecting more money from the people. So he had a cross check against the, that means cross check about the taxation from the farmers, and they maintained the record, and he has a good record. But in this theory, the iqtidars was transferable. That means it can be transferred to the king. That means the sultan could take back a particular iqta from a iqtadar and give another land, that is another iqta. But it is seen that if after the death of iqtadar, his iqta came to the sultan, that is in the which period, in Muhammad bin Tughlaq, the iqtadar land would return back to the sultan. But in the Firoz Shah Tughlaq, it became very less. That means he was very lenient towards the nobles. So the transfer of iqtas was not being seen. After the death of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, when Firoz Shah came into existence, this tendency, or you can say this law, was becoming very weak, and it started that the iqtadars became as a hereditary. Okay, and it began to treat that from father to son. That means a hereditary process started to start after, that means in the period of Firoz Shah Tughlaq. And it is seen that when there was a weak sultan, the iqtidars, that the landholders or the nobles, behave like a independent rulers of their land. That means they don't have to give back the land where it was in the Muhammad bin Tughlaq. But in Firoz Shah, it was not so. The people or the nobles did not gave back the land, and they started playing as a independent ruler whenever after Firoz Shah, whenever a weak sultan came into existence. So we have dealt about the processes, or you can say more aspects of the Tughlaq dynasty. What are the processes or the acts which changed in the Tughlaq dynasty? In the next class we will be doing about the Sayyid dynasty, and that was, who was the first ruler? It was Khizr Khan Sayyid, who was the founder, or you can say the ruler of Sayyid dynasty. Thank you.